Without further ado, as we wrap up IES 18, our guest of honor, please welcome Kevin Lyman.
Hi, guys. Sorry, I've only been home 48 hours. We're day 6 minutes longer here, so still unpacking and doing laundry from 2 months in a row. So thank you for having me, Jay.
Well, we can't thank you enough, Kevin. You know, we didn't know if you're going to walk through the door or not. I kind of hinted at yesterday that maybe it's going to happen, maybe it's not. But, you know, obviously what you do means a lot to the independent creative community out here. And I figure what better way to wrap this up and, of course, wrap up the legacy of the Warped Tour to have you say a few words, and as we, you open the next chapter and, start at USC and all that.
I went to my first HR meeting. I landed at 1 a.m. on Friday, and at 10 a.m. I was at USC filling out my first HR paperwork in my entire life. So that was strange. That's the most fearsome thing I have of going in and doing this, taking this position at the school, is actually having to do the paperwork.
Wow.
Yeah, I've never had to do paperwork in my life like that. So no, but the independent spirit is alive and well. I think it's more so than ever. In my world, it's gone through a whole thing of consolidation, and I think I was one of the last independent festival producers still around out there. Most of them have been purchased or bought by companies like Live Nation and AEG. We're just kind of going to revamp what we're doing as a company. My company, For Feeney, is not going away. It'll be rebranding in a couple of weeks, a whole new direction for our company. So we'll be making that announcement very shortly in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, well, very exciting, and I know a number of our people have been on the tour and certainly attended it, and I go way back in seeing what you've built. And like I always said, that this is a new door opening, and I know you've put this into the hands of the fans and the bands and the people to go out and achieve. And one of the greatest things Kevin has done is we watched him create this from virtually nothing, and that's what we always inspire, with the Indie Summit and everything, that you can take an idea, and as long as you can go out and make it happen and get some traction and figure out how to make the business work, some of the greatest things, including the Warped Tour, started that way. So, there are no rules as long as you're doing it legally and you get your ducks in a row and you find an audience, anything's possible. And there's certainly big companies out there that might want to joint venture with you and get behind you and, back your plan. And, if you know what you're doing going into it, you can still retain some leverage, some equity, some, a piece of the pie. Kevin, just kind of talk a little bit about not only as you put a bow on the incredible 24 years and open up the 25th year in the new chapter, of just kind of where the state of the concert, touring, festival business is, because we've seen the advent of way more festivals, pop up. We know some make money, some don't, some will be around. Obviously, your friends at Golden Voice have created something great with Coachella, and they're doing their thing. But where do you see the
I think
industry?
we're definitely seeing, there was a bubble. I've been talking about it for about 5 years, the festival bubble. There was too many festivals. They were starting to be like-minded. But I think we're finding more niche festivals. I've also been saying we're finding smaller, nichier festivals. I think we're going to see more one-day festivals. Some of the best success I had in the last couple of years was things like It's Not Dead, the punk rock show that I put on, and but they're one day. Getting away for a 3-day festival, the cost of it for the public, I think, is becoming unattainable in some ways. So, the nicest thing some people were saying out on the road was the Warped Tour was the festival for the people, because we did try to keep the ticket prices as low as possible. But as you travel with the country, everything's costing more. So I think it's more regional festivals. We had a lot of new things that we were dealing with in the last few years that make touring festivals probably are going to be difficult to put on the road. I think a few people will attempt them next year. But I think we're going to see more local and regional festivals. One day, I think, is the direction that festivals are going.
Mm-hmm. So try to sustain this, weeks and weeks and months is the difficult part.
Yeah, or a 3-day festival. I think people are going to build more sites that are conducive to, 1 week you'll see a hip hop festival, and then the next week you might see an indie festival, and then the third week might be a country festival. So they're putting together, locations. I'm waiting for some news tomorrow, and for our 25th anniversary, we're looking at a very large festival using their facilities the week after, so we would be able to share the cost on the infrastructure, and that's what we're looking at doing. So I think a lot of people are starting to look at that way, because if you can find a festival site, I know a friend of mine, John Reese, does some festivals. He built the grounds in Ohio, so I know he's doing a country festival. He's doing an EDM festival there. He did a punk rock camp out there earlier this year, but then he puts the infrastructure in for the whole summer, so you don't have to keep rebuilding the festival sites, because building a festival site gets quite expensive. So, if you're going to start a festival, I think, looking to collaborate with other people that maybe have, maybe work in a different genre of music that want to use it the next weekend, you can, because stages and events you rent by the month a lot of times. Mm-hmm. So bringing those hard costs down to doing festivals, that's one of my classes is going to be a festival creation, in USC. So
what are we looking at as far as the 4 courses you're doing? One is festival creation.
One is festival creation, a DIY marketing class, a branding class, and then kind of this mentors, entrepreneurs, and kind of skewing it towards social responsibility and entertainment. So it's a full load. I'll be teaching 2 full days a week there, but also running the company the rest of the time.
Mm-hmm. So it gives you an opportunity to give back, mentor others, and be able to offset making the next move, having that day job.
And like I said, maybe day job, maybe finish a 10-week yoga course, because no traveling. It was the first time in history we had a family meeting. My daughter's one daughter's getting ready to jump around the country and work a bunch of festivals. My other daughter with school, and we're sitting there, and then it came up to my calendar, and they said, what's your travel schedule? And I said, I don't have one right now. It's the first time I've gotten off the road and now I had nothing booked to go travel. So it's kind of nice. It's more my personal grounding, But so I think for you guys, there's going to be a huge amount of opportunities because some of this consolidation. Every time everything consolidates too much, there'll be new pockets of things that form out there.
The new innovators, the new pioneers that open up, the trailblazers, like we call them. Well, Kevin, as far as any kind of tips that you can give to entrepreneurs, whether they're as an artist these days, you've obviously seen the rise and advent of so many incredible artists. You take a little band like 21 Pilots, and now they're a big arena band, and so many acts have come through the Warped Tour. What have you learned in the last couple of years, seeing kind of how some of these artists, besides just the normal social media, are kind of attaining greatness?
Stay out of trouble on social media, a big part of it. But I think a lot of it is also developing, your parallel brands. So while you're working on your art and your love and craft of music or whatever you're doing, you have to develop your other interests as much, because it's everyone, having a dual income as an individual sometimes, finding a way to make some extra money or do something while you follow your passion is going to be very, very important right now. We're seeing, as streaming revenues get more sorted out, I said about 5 years ago I was waiting for Spotify and people to start signing their own artists, and now they're starting to do that. The backlash will be, they'll weather that backlash now, because streaming is the outlet for music. So I think there's going to be, if you can build your own story and you build your own basis, you can start looking to make some of your own deals. And if you can start capturing more than 12% of the revenue that's coming into to the artist through the labels, the average label deal gives you 12%, you'll be able to capture that yourself. So it's kind of working on your brand, working on your business thing. It's definitely hard work. I think we're all working twice as hard as we ever did. But if you love what you're doing, it's just, that's what you do.
Well, that's what we always say, it's not a job, it is adventure, and it's a life of, great, opportunities, relationships, and so exciting to see these independents build. What are some of the highlights for you over the 24 years of work? Seeing some of these individuals, I know our friend Kosha Dills, who were piping in on a call and everything, these guys that get out there and just grind and hustle, and they're just born entrepreneurs and stuff, but what are some of the highlights for you as far as seeing individuals just rise to greatness?
Well, I mean, for me, I always say it's, what your legacy is going to be, and there's a lot of bands out there that, those bands that were able to make their careers 2-3 decades long, and a lot of them joined me this summer, dropped in, like the Less Than Jakes, the Real Big Fishes. They've never really had big radio hits. They've never had those things, but they've been able to sustain a career by I always say, don't overthink it. We're not in a complicated business, really. Artists tend to overthink things sometimes. Just go out there and do them. But I'm also, for me, it's a lot of the people that, now that are all, everywhere I go, I walk in and these people all had experience working on that festival. And now they're out there running things all over the country, and it's kind of good. And artists, but, a guy, you mentioned a guy like Kosha Dills, he is the consummate hustler in this business, and a hustler in a good way, and I use that word very, very complimentary when I use that. He just is, he creates... Tireless and sometimes relentless. It's a fine line sometimes, but you know what? You have to respect him for what he's done. But it's just, you get up and he gets up every day and creates his own opportunities. I mean, and a lot of times that's what it is. If you sit back and wait for people in life to hand you something, it's not really going to be that good. So,
Yeah.
if you guys had any questions, maybe a couple things you guys want to talk about?
Any couple quick questions for the man?
Yeah. I wasn't really prepared or anything to come over. I was just
yeah. If there's no questions, that's fine. I mean, we have enough from this side here. I know everybody's going to get their cameras ready as we give Kevin his well-deserved honor. But as far as that goes, like you say, hustler in the greatest term, because you almost have to have that, not only never say die attitude, but somehow that undying passion from within. It's not like you're drinking 20 cups of coffee. There's something internal in you that gets you to go out there every day and raise the bar and just naturally, take it beyond what you've seen anybody else do.
Yeah, I mean, it just is. You get up again. For me, it was just gotten to a point, the way I run my business is I'm 100% in. So physically, it was getting hard to be out there for 2 months. Definitely, that's the hardest part of me these days,
I've always had the question of, when I would work with artists, a lot of times I'd be either managing or helping co-produce a band or something like that. What would be the determining factor for you as a person who puts on a tour or on one of these projects to bring in a band? Like, is it?
And sadly, it's come with the advent of social media so much. I mean, you almost have to look at, and one of the worst things I see is young managers and people are not even young managers. Some of the managers that have been around a while. They get a band, they sign them, and they're talented. There's a lot of talent out there. We all know how much great talent there is now, more probably than ever because of the influences that people are having in young ages in music and what they're doing. But you really almost have to do a total background check. Because what ends up happening, that old stuff comes forward, it doesn't really, but when you have nothing going on, no one really knows. But as soon as, and I see it so often, these bands get going and they get a little momentum and then some of their past history comes popping out. So as a manager, I would do some background checks to make sure that if you're investing your time, into something that you could grow together. I also, nowadays I worry that, the bar of success has been lowered in some ways. So the bigger agents and managers and things in this business will come and poach your bands very quickly. It used to be, bands would get to 1,000 seats or something before the big agents would want them. Now I see that at 300 to 500 seats. So as a manager, I protect yourself too. Not sign some crazy deal, but set the bar that if I did 3 of these 5 things over the next year, we renew our contract together. You renew that and you treat it pretty straightforward as a business. So I always tell managers and stuff, before you get it, you don't have some restrictive contract, but you have bars of success to keep the momentum going forward.
But what makes it to where you decide to put someone on a tour?
On a tour? For me now, I used to know everyone. That was weird. I used to tour with my peers. Back in the day, it was all the punk bands, Dropkick Murphys, Pennywise. Those were all people I grew up with, and I would tour with them because, I knew who they were. But now it was like, it's that kind of thing. I have to have a circle of people that I kind of depended on. So, and that was one of the problems now, because that circle, sometimes I would be told, because I'm not out like I used to be, I admit, I like being home, I'm not out 320 days a year when I was running shows in Los Angeles, knowing everyone, that people the people I would trust most sometimes would tell me anything to get the band on tour, and then I'd inherit the band's problems, and then I was dealing with it because that's what I deal with. But always a live act. For me, it was always about driving a great live show. Especially in the festivals I've created, like Mayhem or Warped or Country, some of these things, they have to be great live acts because there's always so much going on because of my personality is I created chaos around me just because I like that more than a show, that you have to be a great live act to be able to, so people didn't just turn around and go get a hot dog or do something else because there's 6 or 7 stages going on. So it was always great live acts.
Gotcha.
Yeah, if you can see so much live for free on YouTube, what's going to make you go see that act that's really going to put it down and make you, an exceptional live performance?
I still don't think we can live in a world of YouTube. I still think people want human connection and want to get in public together.
I mean, that's the one great thing is the experience of the live show. You can never download, you can never steal it. It's really, that's the last bastion of the experience everybody wants. So what we're going to do right now is everybody get your cameras ready. You know, we appreciate Kevin as always. We've had so many great experiences on the Warped Tour. We look forward to him being the new professor at USC. I know students are going to come in from all over the world for that. We look forward to the next chapter and growing with him. His support of the Indy Summit, Indy Power, and everything we do is something we don't take lightly at all. You know, we've had so many incredible speakers over the last 3 days. People like Eddie Winrick is like, man, Kevin used to be a roadie with us on Warren. You know, I mean, so many incredible people. And, you know, this, like I told him over the email, I says, please come on out, even for a few minutes. If you can join me here, Kevin. Basically, the Indy Entertainment Summit honors you for your talents, which have touched the world, inspired us all, from the Indy creative community and IES to you. This is the honor. IES honors Kevin Lyman for a quarter century of work. I call it the Trailblazer of the Decade Award. So this is for you. Please stand. Let's get some photos. Appreciate it. Kevin Lyman, will you please give it up? IES 18, get those photos.
And one of the things that, you know, I will say, I didn't get to mention, but one of the things we're most proud of this summer was, you know, the nonprofit stuff. And that's one of the things that this will give me more time to work with the nonprofit world. Warped was always a tour that I felt was music, philanthropy, and education. And the music side will figure itself out. There's a lot of smart people in music, but the philanthropy side, I just driving over here, my accountant just said, because we ask donations at our guest list tent. This is one of the things, you know, we ask people to throw $5 in the box for Music Cares. I just found out that that box collected over $39,000 this summer. That will go to help artists.
That's awesome.
The other thing I'm really...
And feeding the homeless in every city. I was talking about that.
The canned food drives, we surpassed 2 million tons of food that we collected through the last decade. But the thing that now will move forward mostly is this FEND movement, the Full Energy No Drugs opioid initiative we launched on Warped Tour, blending technology and gamification into an app. We found out we're right under 40,000 people downloaded the app this summer out on the road to learn about opioids, and we're talking to a lot of states came out, attorney generals came out, governors, representative governors' offices. So that'll be something we're really looking forward to. So the message of Warped, when I say Warped is going away as a 2-month touring festival, but the things, the groundwork we laid will continue, and that's what I want to put my passion and energy into, because trust me, 2 months on the road, this summer really, your brain turns to mush and you become reactive and not proactive. So that's the reason we're ending. And it was a great summer. It was our second largest average attendance. We averaged over 14,000 people a show for 38 cities. Yeah,
sold out many venues.
Yeah, we sold out eight shows, and we never really
amphitheater, all that great stuff.
So it was a great summer. It was a great way to wrap up. But that means there is, because there was a lot of most of the acts on the Warped Tour this year were affiliated with indie labels or were indie bands themselves. So best of success to everyone, and thank you very much for this award.
Well, Kevin, it's our pleasure. Thanks again for coming out. Best of you and your family. I can't wait to see what you do at USC in the next chapter.
All right.
Thanks so much for coming out.
Thank you, sir.
Please give it up for Kevin Lyman.